Hey guys, Tom Mobile back again. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Galaxy S22 Ultra after using it for 2 weeks. Overall, it is an excellent phone if you are a spec enthusiast and you really want the S Pen and a great camera. This phone offers one of the best zoom quality in a smartphone camera. You can do anywhere from 30x zoom to 100x zoom, and it also takes some great night photos. It has excellent speakers, which is great for listening to podcasts or watching YouTube. Since it is called the S22 Ultra, it has the best specs that Samsung have to offer, and probably the most features and overall the top of the line phone for Samsung. The Fold series is actually a more expensive phone, but it is more experimental. With the Fold, you see that they have the under display camera and there's still the crease in the middle. So overall, the specs is a tad lower in terms of the camera and overall software package, but the Ultra series, it is the more best overall phone that Samsung have to offer. It got the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip on the Android side of the house, and it even brings back the popular S Pen. There was a time where the Note series was actually Samsung's best phone, but now it has shifted over to the Ultra. So logically, it just makes sense to put the pen inside of the Ultra. I've always liked the idea of the S Pen more than actually using it. I know in this year they made the S Pen even better and faster than before. So if you're an artist, you enjoy drawing or scribbling and taking notes, I think this would be fantastic for you. For me personally, I found myself only taking out the pen a few times. Occasionally, if I need to extract a small text where you need to be precise, it is a little bit easier to use the pen, but on a day-to-day basis, the S Pen is nice to have, but I can live without it. But if you already have the S21 Ultra, you probably wouldn't need to upgrade. The only thing you're going to see is a slight improvement in the camera and the return of the S Pen. But in terms of processing, you do get a newer processor, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't think you're going to see too much of a difference. As I mentioned earlier, this phone has a great camera with an excellent zoom capabilities. Here's a wide-angle photo during the daytime, so you can see a lot of good quality, very bright and easy to see. And here is the photo of it being zoomed into 30x. If you go back to the previous photo, you cannot even see the McDonald's on here. But once you do the 30x, you can read the McDonald's sign pretty clearly, and even some of the menu item that they had on the door. And for 100x, you can even see it a little bit more. But I think the 30x will probably be the most that you want to zoom in, because you can already read a little bit in this photo. But once you go to 100x, it does get a little bit blurry and weird, and at 100x it is a lot harder to control the camera as well. So I think sticking with 30x zoom max is probably your best bet. But overall, if you really need the zooming capabilities, it works really well. But if you just want to take regular photos from further away, either at regular angle or wide angle, it is perfectly sufficient as well. So here's another demonstration. This is the view for wide angle. This is zoomed in a little bit further. Before you couldn't really see the crane, now you get a little bit more detailed. And if you zoom it again, this is 30x, you can begin to read the sign. And if you zoom in one more time, you can still see the sign a little bit more, although you can see all around the edges it gets a little bit more pixelated and grainy. And just for fun, here is the comparison to a regular S22. This is the $800 model, and the current photo shows a wide angle camera. And this is me zooming in a little bit more. And finally at 30x. As you can see, it is a big difference between this one and the S22 Ultra. So even though the S22 Ultra is $400 more, you're paying more for the better camera and the better detailed once you start zooming into all of these objects. But I guess in theory, if you're just taking photos at regular lengths or wide angle, it is pretty similar. but you do get a lot more detail with all the extra cameras on the S22 Ultra compared to the standard S22. Food photos look great under the right lighting, and night photos work pretty well if you are in the normal view, but once you start zooming in, it gets a little dicey. So here is the same photo that I'm taking at nighttime, and the detail does struggle a little bit with all the lights in the background that it has to compete with. And here is night mode. Like I mentioned earlier, if you just use the regular view, it is fine, but once you zoom into 10x, it gets a little distorted, especially with all the other lights around. And night mode, it only supports up to 10x, because once you start zooming into 30x, it will look like this. So you're better off not zooming in too much. Here's a picture of a parking lot that is actually super dark, but after you take the photo, it does pick up a lot more details and makes it look a lot brighter than it actually is. I can see this as a pro and con. Some people would prefer to have the more true photos to what they are seeing, while others prefer to have a bright and better looking photo. I personally prefer the brighter photo rather than just some dark shadows that I can't make out what it is. So just for the camera to be able to kind of detect this parking lot and make it a lot brighter than it actually is, I think it is pretty impressive. And here are some pipes, and the night mode is able to pick up some of the circular dots as well, which I personally did not see with the naked eye. So I think that's pretty cool. And here's a photo of me just using the regular camera flash instead of night mode. This one actually looks a lot better. So moral of the story, if you can use flash, then use it. But if you're in a situation where you're trying to take a picture of the sky, then flash is not really going to help you that much there. In that case, just use the night mode that is built in. And the night mode is actually pretty quick. I know in the Google Pixel 6 when I use it, it felt a lot longer. This one still takes like a second or two to process, but it's not bad. And here's a picture of a tree at nighttime. There are some street light nearby, so it is not completely pitch black, but it's able to make the photo look a lot nicer than what I was actually seeing in real life. And here's a picture of a kitchen stove just in complete darkness without any lights around. It's still able to pick up a little bit, which is kind of cool. And here's a picture with flash on. So night mode can only do so much, but it tends to perform a little bit better if there are some street lights or a little bit of light nearby. If not, it's still just going to be a black blob unless you turn on flash. Here's another demonstration of a night photo outside of a tree. This one do have some street light nearby as well, and it's able to produce some nice quality as long as there's a little bit of lighting. Overall, the night mode is pretty impressive if you are not in complete darkness or trying to compete with all the city lights while zooming in. So if you want to get this phone, I would definitely get it just for the camera alone if you're looking for an upgrade there. But like I mentioned earlier, if you have the S21 Ultra, you can probably hold off. S20, I can see maybe a case for that. But over the last few years, these phones are getting better and better, so we're seeing incremental updates here. But some of the issues that I see that is wrong with this phone is the RAM is actually down compared to last year. The base model is no longer 16 gigabyte, it is actually 8 gigabyte. So you do have to pay more if you want the additional RAM capacity. So Samsung is trying to cut costs here, and the phone itself is actually super sharp. And holding it for a long period of time does get uncomfortable. Since it is a bigger screen, I do try to play a little bit more games just to make it worthwhile. But the edges are so sharp that it makes it uncomfortable for me to hold, so I don't even want to play the games anymore. which is kind of ironic. I guess a solution to that, you can probably get some nice soft silicone case or something like that. But I personally prefer to use my phones without cases. So it's unfortunate that the design is a little flawed. Alright guys, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Just leave them below. And see you guys next time.